Greetings, everyone. It's Wednesday, Comic Book Day. So, continuing on with our horror theme this month, I thought we'd take a look at City of Others. Today on the Multimedia Chronicles. Welcome back. So, City of Others, the first I'd actually heard of it is when it was sent to me by Phuckinaye, a longtime viewer and just all-around awesome guy. If you're at all curious, I'll put a link to the package opening video in the description and you can check it out for yourself. So, City of Others was originally a 4-issue limited series published by Dark Horse Comics, written by Steve Niles and illustrated by horror comics legend Bernie Wrightson. Now, my introduction to Bernie Wrightson was this book right here, Stephen King, Cycle of the Werewolf. This is actually the first printing. Yes, my mom was a huge Stephen King fan and actually would buy his books essentially as they came out. And a while back, she was getting rid of a lot of her old books and putting some of the first printings up on eBay, and I said, "Hey, you're not getting rid of Cycle of the Werewolf, are you?" And she had no idea that I was interested in it at all. I was like, "Well, yeah, Bernie Wrightson, hello." So anyway, this is just a little bonus, even though we're talking about City of Others. But just beautiful, beautiful artwork in here. So, I mean, I fell in love with his horror artwork right from the moment go. And since then, I have enjoyed a lot of his work over the years. He was, of course, the original artist on Swamp Thing. Yeah, back in the 70s. And that was sort of the other thing that I became most familiar with, was Cycle of the Werewolf, and then his work on Swamp Thing. And then I've also got a big hardcover book of Frankenstein. It's basically the entire original text of Frankenstein, but with new illustrations by Bernie Wrightson. Maybe we'll talk about that one another time, maybe. But, yeah, so anyway, when I saw this in the package, I was really stoked because I love Bernie Wrightson's artwork so much, and I was really excited to check it out. And, well, here it is 2 years later, almost to the day, and I finally got around to checking it out. So, City of Others basically follows the story of, what was his name, Stosh Blodowski. Yes, is the bald gentleman on the cover there. Now, essentially, Stosh Blodowski is a killer for hire. And his thing is he feels no emotion whatsoever. He can feel anger and stuff like that, but I mean nothing really, like no remorse, no pity, no compassion, nothing, no love. He just cannot feel emotion, and he first discovered this when he was a kid. He was in the obligatory orphanage run by hard-assed nuns, and eventually he got adopted, and then things just kind of went bad. His adoptive parents were quite abusive. His adoptive brother was kind of an asshole. And in the end, he ended up killing all 3 of them. And then ran away. And just kind of lived on his own for the rest of his life. But he became a killer for hire. And makes a lot of money doing, killer for hire type jobs. Just killing people and getting oodles and oodles of money. But he doesn't care about the money. He doesn't care about the work. He doesn't do it because he enjoys it. He just kind of does it. He doesn't even think twice about it. He's really lacking direction in his life. And, well, he gets this one particular job where he has to kill these 2 people. And something goes kind of weird. These 2 people won't die. Like, he stabs them, and he shoots them, and he, like, chops off parts of their body, and they just won't die. Like, they refuse to go down. Like, let me see if I can find the part here. And, well, it's actually right on the cover. Right on the cover of the first issue. There you go. But no, if we go sort of through it a little bit here, he's or is it? Yeah, he's doing this job. He like snaps his neck and he stabs him and smashes him into the ground. And I mean, these guys just refuse to die. I mean, they're broken. There's one guy's like head is falling off and he's still coming at him, and they just won't go down. And then there's also another little bit of a mystery in addition to that. Prior to meeting Stosh, there's this woman who gets taken aside in airport security, and she's complaining of a stomach ache and such, and they think maybe she's smuggling drugs, but she's not. She's actually got a head inside her stomach, which is alive and is extracted, and then I guess his helpers show up and with his body and they plop it onto his body, and off he goes. So who this guy is? This is kind of the main antagonist of the story. He goes by the name of Chunks, but he's gone through a few other names over the years, and essentially he was someone who was wronged by, well, the other protagonist of the story. And he's essentially immortal through just crazy, twisted scientific experiments, transplanting his brain and his mind and his head from body to body, and that's how he kind of becomes immortal, to track down those that he's trying to track down. Now, as to who he's trying to track down, well, that's who Stosh runs into. He kind of follows the trail of these guys who wouldn't die and finds this sort of secret society of vampires. And they're very interested in the work that Stosh does and very interested in him, and want him to basically be one of them and help them. And so he meets up with them. They're just sitting around and they're kind of telling the story about how there's this guy who was wronged by vampires many moons ago and just kind of went crazy with the lust for vengeance, and used his crazy experiments to be immortal to try to track down the vampires that wronged him, and that's essentially it. Meanwhile, they're holed up in this nice little mansion out in the middle of the country, and there's an army of zombies coming to them. The zombies being sent to dispatch the vampires sent by Chunks to dispatch the vampires. So over the course of it, we basically learn the backstory of Stosh, we learn the backstory of the vampires, and we learn the backstory of Chunks. And needless to say, Stosh does end up becoming a vampire, and that's kind of where things start to pick up and things start to change for him, because he finds that when he becomes a vampire, he actually begins to feel things. Like at the point where, they're having their big all-out battle between the vampires and the zombies, and a lot of them are getting just ripped to pieces. I mean, the vampires are dying, the zombies are getting smashed to bits, and then Stosh basically gets injured and gives up and decides that he's ready to die. But through just a sort of a freak series of events, he manages to escape, not even trying to escape. He just gets away, and quickly discovers that he's not. He thought he was gravely injured and was dying, and had fully accepted it and made his peace, and was just ready to go. He's tired of his emotionless life and having no meaning and no purpose, but he won't die. And he realizes that he's been turned. Essentially, he's been turned into a vampire. And so there's some initial scenes where he's sort of coming to terms with that and figuring it out, and finds just this bum guy and feeds on him as his first feed, and realizes that after feeding he feels really good, like rejuvenated and everything. But then the bum that he feeds on, he doesn't kill. He just takes enough to re-energize himself. So the bum doesn't turn into a vampire. He just kind of turns into this raving lunatic, and he's like lunging at him and stuff. And he realizes, like, okay, well, if I'm going to feed off people, apparently I need to kill them. So that's that. But anyway, long and the short of it is, overall, not a bad story. Definitely some interesting ideas. Lots of twists and turns on classic horror concepts such as vampires, zombies, and mad scientists. And serial killers, essentially. I mean, basically, the lead character is a serial killer of a sort. Doesn't do it for sport or anything like that. I mean, he mainly just does it as his job because he's very good at it and doesn't have any emotions. But the problem I had with it is they only did these 4 issues, and it ends very unresolved. I mean, it's essentially an origin story. And by the end of it, Stosh has kind of come to terms with being a vampire. He's kind of figured it out, and he's good. And he's paired up with this junkie girl that he helped out earlier. One of his few moments of and I don't want to say compassion, but at least being helpful to somebody. It was like kind of his own personal redemption. It's like, well, I don't feel anything, but I'll at least try to help somebody, try to do something good, So he helps out this junkie, and then she tracks him down later to thank him, basically, and also to rob him later after he's turned into a vampire, and she ends up getting almost killed, like, by her dealer, and he tracks down the dealer and turns her into a vampire because it's the only way to save her. Tracks down the dealer and gives the dealer to her and says, remember, you have to make sure you kill them after you feed. And she's like, that won't be a problem. But yeah, so anyway, I mean, it has its moments for sure. It was a little bit uneven, I thought. I mean, the biggest problem I had with it was the fact that the main character is just so fundamentally irredeemable. He's not a nice person. He has never been a nice person. It's hard to relate to the main character when he's just so fundamentally unlikable. Overall, I was definitely enjoying the concept, though. I mean, there's some great moments here. For example, like some great just sort of horror moments. Like, for example, where are we here? Yeah, so like Chunks captures one of the vampires and he's interrogating him. And he's like dismembering him and just taking him apart bit by bit. And meanwhile, as they're taking him apart bit by bit, they're just having this perfectly civil conversation about things, and then doesn't get what he wants. Oh yeah, and here's where the junkie girl is. Stosh gives the junkie girl the dealer. Now, needless to say, she won't be a junkie anymore, other than for blood. But yeah. But anyway, as I say, I mean, the main issue I had with it was, I mean, I scoured the internet. I was like, wow, they only did those 4 issues, and that's it. They never continued it. So I don't know if it just didn't sell very well, or they just decided not to continue it, or what the story was. But whatever the case may be, City of Others, not a bad little romp. Certainly worth it for all the Bernie Wrightson artwork. I mean, it's just beautiful painted artwork throughout. And as I say, lots of nice little callbacks to sort of classic horror concepts put into a modern setting. And I certainly liked those aspects of it. I just had some issues with the main character just not being particularly likable or relatable. I actually didn't really care what happened to him. I cared more about the the secret society of vampires that he met up with, actually, because they had a backstory that was genuinely tragic, and like those are the kinds of characters I tend to lean towards and empathize with more, is ones that actually have a reason to be doing what they're doing. And I think that was the issue I had with Stosh, was he wasn't doing anything for any particular purpose. He was just kind of doing it. And maybe that's why they gave up on it, was because I don't know, maybe this isn't really going anywhere. But I don't know. It's not irredeemable. It does have some good qualities, and I definitely thank Phuckinaye for sending it to me. Alrighty, that is it for this edition. We'll see you next time. Quick thank you to my Patreon sponsors, especially Kyle Pellegrini and Get Your Gorgeous On, my 2 highest level sponsors. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate the support. And we'll see you next time. So until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara.